Tonight, we're digging into a story that's got it all. Systemic rot, raw political power, and one man's crusade that, according to our sources, provoked a truly brutal response. We are talking about the politics of Illinois.
Yeah, there's really no way to sugarcoat this. The source material just lays it right out there. And look, this isn't some new thing. It's a reputation that's been built up over decades. It's practically woven into the state's DNA. So you have to ask, how on earth did it get this bad?
And those aren't my words, by the way. Those are the words of veteran news pundits, people who thought they'd seen everything. It just goes to show you, when these stories out of Illinois break, the shock is real, even for people who watch this stuff for a living. All right, so to really get what's happening now, we have to rewind a bit. We're about to look at what the sources describe as a political machine that's been running the show for generations.
Just look at this. This gives you a sense of the sheer scale we're talking about. This isn't about one or two crooked politicians. The sources are pointing to a whole culture of corruption, so deep that the evidence files would stack to the ceiling.
I mean, seriously, the governor's mansion in Illinois has practically been a revolving door to federal prison. You had Otto Kerner busted for a racetrack stock deal, Dan Walker hit with bank fraud after he left office, and then, of course, Governor George Ryan, who did 6.5 years for a massive licenses for bribes scandal. We're talking about the highest office in the state, just disgraced again and again.
And if you want a story that just shows you the sheer nerve of it all, here you go. It wasn't just the governor's. After Secretary of State Paul Powell died, they found shoeboxes in his attic, and what was inside? Just stuffed with cash and checks. It's the kind of thing you'd see in a movie. It's almost comical, but nope, it was very, very real.
So into this swamp of deep-seated corruption, a totally new kind of person shows up. And this is where the story pivots hard, away from the problem and toward a man who, well, saw himself as the answer.
Now, according to the source material, Raymond Lear's story doesn't start with political ambition. It starts with a legacy of service. His dad was a WW2 Navy vet who fought at D-Day. His mom was a naval officer who dedicated her life to helping inner-city kids. This idea of duty, it's painted as the bedrock of everything he does next.
And here it is, straight from Lear himself. He frames his whole mission as something he learned from his father, a duty to take a stand no matter how impossible the odds seem.
You see, long before he ever thought about running for office, Lear was out on the streets. He built this huge youth corps, and then he became the commander of the Chicago Guardian Angels. Now you have to understand, in a city with corruption running that deep, a group like the Guardian Angels out there fighting crime directly, well, that's seen as a major threat to the networks that are already in place.
So what happens when a guy like that, this immovable object of service, runs smack into the unstoppable force of a corrupt political machine? Well, according to this narrative, the system doesn't just push back. It tries to absolutely crush you.
The source claims the reason they came after him so hard wasn't just because he might win. It was because he was different. In a system that runs on backroom deals and intimidation, a guy who supposedly can't be bought and can't be scared, well, he's more than a problem. He's a bug in the entire program. He had to be deleted.
And the retaliation they allege, it was just unbelievably brutal and personal. The sources claim his fiancée was kidnapped by dirty cops. Then, he and his elderly mother were thrown in jail on what they say were completely trumped-up charges. And while all of this was happening, his father, the D-Day hero, was killed. This wasn't politics anymore. This was war.
And just when you think this story can't possibly get any more intense, it takes a turn that's, well, completely unexpected. The fight, as presented in the source material, goes from being political to being spiritual.
Okay, so to really grasp this next part, you need to understand this one concept from the source. It's called the Archangel Michael parallel. Basically, it's the belief that a divine commander, an archangel, can come to Earth in human form to fight evil and protect people. Keep that idea in your head because it's central to what comes next.
And here it is. This is the core claim. The source material identifies Lear as the anointed one, Ray L. So suddenly, his battle against the Illinois political machine isn't just a campaign anymore. It's being framed as a literal, modern-day divine war against earthly corruption.
This whole story got a ton of media attention, and a key moment was an appearance on Oprah. According to the story, a photo was taken on set, and it looked like it showed something supernatural, what's described as the Holy Spirit, hovering right there. In this moment, it's held up as a sign, as a piece of visible proof that his mission was divinely guided. And that really brings us to the question that the source material puts right in front of you. What are we actually looking at here? Is this a story about a man's incredibly brave fight against political corruption? Or is it, as the narrative claims, something much bigger, a spiritual war playing out on the streets of Chicago?
The way this story is told, it all builds to a final judgment, but not one that's going to be handed down in a courtroom. It's a verdict meant for the court of public opinion.
The source material leaves us with this powerful verse from the Bible. It's a question about whether people can hold on to faith when faced with so much injustice. It really gives the whole struggle this sense of ultimate, profound meaning.
So in the end, the narrative we've been walking through draws a straight, unbroken line. From his parents' dedicated service in World War II to his own battles on the streets of Chicago, it's all presented as the same fight for freedom, just against a very different kind of enemy.
And that leaves us all with one final, pretty urgent question. When the systems that are supposed to protect us are this broken, this corrupt, whose job is it to fix them? Does it take one person, a divine intervention, or does that responsibility fall on every single one of us? That's the verdict this story is asking you to think about.